So it's been a pleasure, right? So since the morning, the reason why we came here, myself and Naimish, primarily was to learn and to network. And both those objectives have been by far met already, and we're looking forward to spending more time. But it has been a pleasure listening to the tech side of the story throughout the day. And a lot of references to the banks, which is amazing to hear. And ending it now with this session, and I'll keep it very brief, to tell you what our story and from our side of things, how things are happening. And we talk about banks, you also talk about the ecosystem around it, right? So we'll talk about a little bit what the country has to offer and where the country is headed. I'll just give you the context. Naimish will cover. So context is important because we are from a different geography. Our challenges are very different from this part of the world, and we are in a catch-up mode. So you will find us a little bit nascent in our thinking, but we know we have to catch up. Possibly we will try to catch up fast. Thanks for all the knowledge that is available out there. And then we'll talk about, Naimish will take us through a few experiments that we have done, a few cases that we spoke about, the KYC, number of things came up throughout the day. We'll talk about what are we attracted to. And then finally we'll end up with a Q&A where actually we are asking the questions, and I hope you have the answers. So we will go and then possibly network beyond that. A bit of context about UAE. I don't know how many of you have been there, but within the region that we are in, Dubai as a city is being seen as a city which has really developed in the last 20 years. Just a few years ago, we were a population of 1.5 million, and now we are about to touch 10. We're very lucky to have 180 nationalities in one place. A lot of talent we were able to attract over the years. A lot of companies, especially the finance-oriented companies, being housed in Dubai. So that kind of propels the region. Also an emerging hub of innovation. So that because of the government backing on innovation, to do things differently, to do things first, to experiment and fail, because failure is a step towards success. So that kind of mindset, creating a future foundation to attract fintechs, to attract hyperloop kind of technologies and so forth. Building, since the history is not that far off, it's a fairly young country. Instead of a museum of the history, building a museum of the future, where how future would look like is being showcased. And it's a real construction that is in place right now, which is going to go live Q1 next year. And number of technologies that we are experimenting before we come to blockchain, like Hyperloop, like closing the distance between two cities that we have, Dubai and Abu Dhabi, 160 kilometers to be covered in 12 minutes. The first autonomous car, we did the first test in Q4 last year, which is crazy, right? I mean, who was the guinea pig? And it's just a vehicle which just flies from one point to the other, and you sit in it and you just press one button, and the entire thing is automated, so all autopilot. And we have flown planes on autopilot, but we always knew there was a pilot somewhere in the cabin. So this was crazy, and this happened, and there is a very firm goal of making that possible fairly soon. Crown Prince of Dubai, Sheikh Hamdan, announced fairly recently, just a year and a half ago, that blockchain as a medium, as a technology, as a concept, whatever you call it, the value is seen in terms of benefits, not possibly in terms of crypto exchange, the value exchange, but definitely in terms of the messaging piece or the digitization piece as we saw it, and enforced a self-vision on ourselves to have all our ministries follow this by 2021, which changes everything. Because we as a bank, which is Emirates ENBD, we are the largest group of banks in UAE. We were experimenting 3 years ago. So we did our first, and Naimish will talk brief about that. We did our first experiment. But if you don't have the ecosystem, if you don't have everybody raising their vision to that same level, you don't get support. So with this announcement, we had a lot of support, a lot of people and knowledgeable people getting attracted to the country. So this is the goal that we are working on as a country. And the strategy is across multitudes of industries. I'm just going to go very fast and get into the so education industry, the police, Dubai police is experimenting a lot of elements there. There are 44 ministries. The travel system, the Roads and Transport Authority, they are doing a lot, and so forth. And right now, the government of Dubai is actually running a huge platform for attracting people. Some of the folks that we met yesterday and today have been into the latest hackathon that the Dubai government did in May. So they were there, and so things are moving fast. And also getting externally recognized to be a country which is trying to have a clarity in terms of what they want to do and possibly trying to do it. Yeah, Naimish.
Hi, my name is Naimish, and I'll keep it short and sweet because I know it's quite late. I will share some things what we are doing. First of all, and to set the context right again in what we are doing is applicability of it was not a tech-first decision. As you mentioned rightly, it was about the use case and application and where business can see benefit. And going back to Bernard's point, yes, we are not so friendly, crypto-friendly bank. Hence, we focused on private blockchain, permission blockchains, and our use cases are not based on value transfer, but most we use the blockchain as a digitization platform to digitize a process that crosses multiple entities. And I'll give you some examples of that. However, my main point is the challenges I'm facing, which I'm seeking answers for the team. So I'll quickly brush through the use cases. You can stop me if there's something you find interesting in what we have done. However, we'll focus more on the challenges. So from the message transfer point of view, what have we been doing for the last 18 to 24 months is, first, we experimented to transfer money. Remittance is a huge market from the subcontinent, from the United Arab Emirates to the subcontinent. We have about 8 corridors, India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and it's about $30 billion market of remittance from UAE to this. And we eliminated SWIFT first. We experimented with using a very native private blockchain through a company, and we experimented with India, which was a success. And now the questions business were asking us is, why do I need blockchain? I can do a simple point-to-point API connection, and I can transfer the message, and why do I need blockchain was the important question they asked. And our view was, let me prove it to you through a absolute real-time test, and then you will see the difference. So what they saw was, we were able to, this is our vision. So what we saw was, we took India as a corridor, we put blockchain in place, and we were able to transfer money within 60 seconds. In real time. Remittance from Dubai to India, account to account in 60 seconds. That's the customer's benefit side of the story. But what was the benefit to the bank in the back office process? The reconciliation, which Alex mentioned a number of times. Having live real data on the blockchain as a platform, so secure data, live data, we were able to help business monitor the liquidity in a much more efficient way. We were able to manage the disputes the customers had in transactions not moving forward, reducing number of people in the back office dealing with that. And we were also able to give them a real-time dashboard of number of transactions flowing through. So all these were operational benefits, plus there were customer front-end benefits for people who are actually transferring money. And this is our vision to migrate. We started with India, and we have a vision to migrate all our corridors on and the blockchain as what we call it, the secure data layer. It's a digitization platform for us. It's nothing more than that. That was the first experiment we did, and we are moving towards this very shortly. Our second use case was, see, our market is very different. I know this may sound very funny to you guys that we still use checks. Because in our country, I know you guys, we don't use checks at all. Probably US, you guys do. But in our market, check is kind of a security instrument because it is criminalized by law. So any check which you write and you fraud on it, it's a criminal activity, which is used as a security by the traders. The small, medium enterprises uses check as, as a security. However, and our 80% of our transactions, unfortunately, are still on checks, which are moving away, and because of that, there are a lot of frauds. So in 2016, the counterfeit check frauds in UAE market exceeded about $15 million of frauds only. And we were one of the banks, because we had the largest market share, we were impacted a lot in terms of bearing some of the losses out there. So what we did was, as an interim or a near long, maybe 3 to 5 year solution before we completely digitize everything and we move towards cashless economy, which is a myth, is how can we, so what we did was we issued all checks now, all retail checks are issued on blockchain. And what I mean by that is this is the first production use case in the UAE for us. Yeah, all our checks are issued on blockchains. The check booklet is as a parent smart contract and the leaf as a child smart contract. So which means that we take we put a random number on this, we combine it with the data on the check, and then create a unique signature for it, so that it's very hard to duplicate that check. You know. Of course, there are residual risks if you lose your checkbook. Yeah, that was the second use. This is the second use case, and this is completely live in production since February, and it's doing well. So we are able to see quantified benefits in terms of fraud loss avoidance. Yeah, fraud losses. That was the second experiment. Our third experiment. That was the experiment which went into production. Now, as bankers, I'm talking only about applications. So I learned a lot today in the morning from Hashgraph to consensus algorithms to things like RKS and RGB protocol. Now, of course, I'm not an expert on technicalities, but I'm sure these technologies will help us in optimizing the use cases which we want to run. One of the most, UAE is 70% trading economy. Import, export, transshipment. The country lives and breathes on this. This contributes to the non-oil economy of the country. However, this process is completely complex, trade finance, and completely manual, with huge set of papers moving from one entity to other entity. Sometimes the goods have arrived on the port, but the banks are still not ready with the papers, which means that the end customer pays damages because the goods are in the port and the documentation is not yet ready, right? So now this is an experiment yet. We are only doing a proof of concept to see whether we can create a disruption around this and create a national trade platform like Singapore has done with MAS and Hong Kong with their trade finance company, and WeTrade is a good example in Europe who has done this. So now what we did was, how about, it's about solving business problem, right? It's not about experimenting or going with the hype of blockchain, how we implemented blockchain. What problem can we solve? So we said, how about we get some of them or all of them into an ecosystem, which can help us digitize the whole life cycle of a trade from an importer to an exporter for a specific corridor. Yeah. So this is our most ambitious project till date, which we are embarking upon. And I know there are certain things which will be challenges, which I'm going to talk about now. Now, this is, we have already got Dubai, the trade company, the shipping agency, a partner from insurance, a logistic company to be part of our ecosystem, and a partner in India and a partner in Hong Kong for the exporter and importer, because we do a lot of trade with the Asian counterparts. If this works, there are tremendous benefit in terms of qualitative, customer experience, and quantitative benefits. Cost savings and huge millions of dirhams would be saved for us. It goes back to a lot of questions which were being asked at the panel level on applicability, why blockchain. One gentleman said, why are we using blockchain for these things? My answer would that be is a purely digitization platform. You create a secure data lake, which it becomes a single source of truth for all parties to tap on and establish trust between them. That's what blockchain is for us. Our fourth and the last use case is real estate. We are with the government, with a couple of government entities. Dubai, again, 80% of residents lease properties. They do not own properties because they are expatriates. Now, leasing in a property from a property management company, there are a lot of paperwork which goes through. Then there is a banks, then you write checks on your rentals which you pay, and then you go to the land department to get a contract, etc., etc. It's all paperwork. So this is going live in October. where we're going to digitize the whole loan leasing experience for an expatriate, where it's from a property management. These are all government entities, and there are 2 banks where we are digitizing everything, including checks. So there's a new product we are launching is smart checks, where it's a payment instrument on blockchain directly. So there is no, with a post-dated feature. So if you can also, promise to pay at a later date, which is nothing but a feature of a check, right? So this is going in live. Successful proof of concept was conducted. We have a real, so what the 3 key first things which we are testing here, and probably the only proof of concept in the world is digital identity at a national level. Second, real-time KYC information shared by the immigration department because they are part of the blockchain. Based on a digital ID, real-time information goes to the property management to do KYC, and smart checks, electronic payment instruments with a PDC feature. That was the use cases. This is the main topic I wanted to discuss because of the experts we have in this room, and I hope I can find some answers. The challenge is what we are facing. Like was mentioned in the last panel, 20% is technology. 80% is the whole ecosystem creation, the stakeholder management, the governance framework, who owns government, and most importantly, ego management. You have one number of entities and number of egos. So if you manage that, then technicality, I'm sure you have experts to solve that. But everybody has their own business process. Everybody thinks this is my standard. Everybody thinks that should be the process. So our biggest difficulty has been managing their egos. Yeah. So we log that also on blockchain. Initially, there was a fear of trust, which has been resolved. And regulations, yes. I think regulations are extremely important because we got a special, for the real estate blockchain I showed you about, we got a special decree issued by the Dubai court saying that, don't worry, if there is a fraud, or if there is if your check dispute, your check bounces, we'll consider the data as a chain of evidence to be produced in the law of court. Only then we could move ahead with the project. So at the large scale adoption, unless there are regulations, I don't think so we can move forward. So regulations are extremely important. So there are some ground level challenges beyond the glamour. We started with glamour in 2015. Then we moved from beyond glamour to a real return of investment use cases with blockchain from business, because 2015 was, we are also one of those banks who are looking at blockchain. We did a press release and that was it. But then after that, it was all about making sense of it. Some challenges we are facing is the platform strategy. Which platform to use from? Portability and migratability to another platform. What if today we choose something, whether it's, I didn't know about RSK, I'm going to really research on that, if we can use that. If I use Ethereum today, what if Hyperledger becomes the main platform? What do I do? I have no answers to that. Security and privacy factors we all know about. We were thinking that, is this this is a dream we have, where I don't care that what DLT layer we use. We want to participate in a use case or a network, business network, where we see benefits. And if they use Ethereum or Hyperledger, I don't care. I want to participate there. If some other ecosystem uses some other platform, I don't care, I'll participate as soon as I see return on investment for the use case. But then, on a technical level, how do I manage these silo networks? So is this something which is possible, where we create a platform agnostic or a DLT agnostic layer by creating some middleware or a business logic layer on top, and I don't really care. It's like a teeth, it's like a gateway to multiple systems. So we have started working on it. We have not completed it, but I would look forward to some of the help this experts here can give. I'm sure you guys have a lot of answers to my questions. And this is something which we have put as our strategy, and see whether we can solve this problem or not. Biggest problem is our storage problem as well. A scalable storage solution, because we haven't seen something so far which can solve the storage problem. That's about it. Very short and sweet. And if you have any answers. But if there are any questions, yeah, I'm ready. Mine's Zubair can take it.
Well, thank you for this insight. I've been a few times to Dubai and I hadn't seen that facade yet, so it's a good discovery. Could you tell us how actually you approach a project? How do you set your targets? How do you engage other parties to play ball with you? Thank you.
So I think we've been, like Zubair mentioned, right? We've been a little lucky there. Our government is, our smart government, they call themselves smart government, has been very, very forthcoming. And some of the initiatives are driven by them. So that problem of who owns this network is solved, yeah? And then it's purely use case basis. Now, sometimes there's one bank who comes with a thought and says, guys, if we have ecosystem like this, we might solve a problem. Then we have a committee, we have a working group established. Like this, we meet every month. Yeah, we go and present it there. And then people debate on pros and cons. Is there a benefit? Is it feasible? Is it viable? Is it commercially beneficial? And then we move on to the next stage.
The other thing we started doing now is that we've realized that technology really doesn't matter. What matters is how you use it to solve a business problem. And we have shot ourselves multiple times in the foot for technology. So this is a painful lesson in life. And we don't want to do that with blockchain. So now, through the success of some of the experiments that you've seen, any business problem that comes in, we consider blockchain as possibly a technology piece to solve that, among other things available. I'll give you an example. After doing check chain, which is production successful, other banks are going to come in, the regulator wants to change the policy around the country and all that stuff, huge success. We realized that we have about 100 plus other instruments that we are releasing. Our branches are, and those are also instruments that have to be secured. So we are going to port them now. And this is how the business basically expands blockchain into the country.
Government really helps, support from them.
Thanks a lot. This I understood you that you were more focused on the message transfers than in the value transfer because of regulation. What, in my humble opinion, is not very good. It's wrong because blockchain was meant and invented for. But beside that, why is not Dubai taking the first steps to make a crypto-friendly regulation that also covers the value transfer side? As a sovereign nation, you could give that first step and show the way to the rest of the world. What is happening in that?
So two things, right? And it goes back to the panel again. Very pertinent discussion there. The blockchain, the Bitcoin, the whole thing. I mean, imagine us sitting a place far away, listening to all the stuff that you guys are doing and the world is doing. Fintechs were considered a few years ago in Dubai as people who are going to eat up the banks. So just imagine how banks would have reacted towards fintechs. We had to null that belief and perspective. We have to bring that down through a lot of experiments and awareness that we built. Now we are embracing them, or at a place where we have started working with them. The same thing about this, when Bitcoin talk started in the world that we don't need a clearing banks. We don't need a clearing body in the middle. Peer-to-peer will happen, and. That was not taken in true spirit by the banks. So the regulators, the central banks, and so forth had, against the crypto piece of the whole thing, had a little bit of adversity. So what we're trying to do, I mean, as our personal vision, is to create value in terms of whatever is easier to get through the door. Put the foot in the door and then you drag the body in. So from that perspective. But do we personally believe in crypto or not? That's our personal thing.
And just to answer your question, crypto has there are a lot of sectors in the government itself who promote this. There's a central bank who's at a federal level, slightly, taking a back step here because of the same reasons. AML, money laundering. Dubai is very known for money laundering from transiting between different countries. So I think that's what they've meant to, they've kind of put them a little backwards on that, but I'm sure it's going to come. However, we are leading a discussion with central bank to at least tokenize their own currency. Not crypto, keep the crypto aside. A digital token which allows peer-to-peer payments or payments and value transfer in all of these use cases through a wallet with a fiat currency, but that adds one aspect of value transfer before the crypto becomes very popular and we have mass adoption of cryptocurrencies.
Thank you.